Hello, I'm Thomas Hare, Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. Welcome to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These 20-minute live conversations featuring leaders in the performance marketing world speaking about the hottest topics in the industry are scheduled twice a month. Before we get to today's conversation, a quick housekeeping note or two. We will be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of the session today, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them, and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. In addition, there will be a screen share today. So to ensure that you can view that properly, please maximize your viewing screen with your viewing window within your screen so that you can take a look at what's being shared. Today's event does kick off a 2-episode series featuring 2 of the PDMI's research partners, DRMetrix and Kantar Media, as they share insight and feedback on the performance marketing landscape as we head into the second quarter of the year. What opportunities are out there for performance and DTC leaders? Where have these marketers succeeded during the upheaval of the past year? Today, our guest is Joseph Gray, founder and CEO of DRMetrix, and he'll be sharing some of his thoughts. As always, I'm also happy to welcome our host, Chris Foster, Vice President of New Business at Modern Postcard. Welcome, gentlemen, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks so much, Thomas. And Joseph, welcome to the Take 20. So excited to have you here. This is such an important part of the industry, right? Especially on the data side, you know, the questions that everyone is asking: what happened pre-quarantine, what happened during quarantine, what do we see now is happening post-quarantine as folks start to, relax a little bit in terms of the restrictions, and how does that impact DTC brands in terms of their approach? So like Thomas said, we're gonna have a lot of screens and a lot of data to show because, hey, it's all about the data, right? And now's the time to dive in. So Joseph, you're going to share your screen, and if you could just lead us through some of the insights and the interesting, observations that you're seeing on the industry side that no one else can see, because you have a unique and exclusive peek into this information that your company provides. So I'm going to leave it off to you and have you take us on a tour.
Absolutely. Well, let me start out by saying that since the COVID emergency was declared last year, we put some really interesting things in terms of free data that's available on drmetrix.com. And one of these is our daily TV tracker, where we're looking at the units by week and by individual day, cause of change, and things like that. Now, I'm going to bring up the first piece of data. Of course, if anybody wants to go and dive into specifics, they can go to our website and go to the daily tracker. So I have a week-by-week view. This is data across 130 networks. And one of the things that DRMetrix is able to do is to segment the larger direct-to-consumer space into different, what we call brand classifications. So, within the larger D2C community, we have traditional D2C advertisers, also known as direct response advertisers, also known as accountable advertisers, basically measuring everything down to the network day part, creative level, media efficiency ratio, ROI, things of that nature. But then we also have the brand direct counterparts, and we put them into 2 classifications: those that are using phone numbers and those who are not. But everything's branded. They're using Nielsen data. And so let's start the story here. Back in Media Week 12, when the national COVID-19 emergency was declared, we immediately saw a pullback from the brand direct classifications of the industry. So all the web mobile offers started to pull back units. You can see here in the blue line, in the yellow line here, the Vanity 800 also branded campaigns, really significant pullback. Now here's the big story. Completely opposite for the traditional direct-to-consumer advertisers. Lead generation ramped up. You can really see it here with the short form products. A lot of those TV to retail products, for example, big ramp up as well. Infomercial got a little soft, but as you go through and you look here, you'll see that there has been a recovery in the latter part of 2020 coming into 2021. For example, we saw the web mobile SMS brand direct campaigns reach a new high very recently here in week 10. We saw that the Vanity 800 took over lead generation in terms of weekly airings units, if you will, for the first time in week 47, November 16th. Vanity 800 reached a new height also very recently, the last few weeks, of close to 60,000 units. So the takeaway here is that traditional direct-to-consumer had a field day because they were able to measure everything, and they could see that, you know, we had more TV viewership, softer rates. They were measuring week to week and saying, hey, you know what, this is a great opportunity. The landscape wasn't as clear for an advertiser relying on Nielsen data, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
So a quick question, Joseph. It looks like when I look at those red bars, that it seemed like we're almost getting back to normal, but there's, whether there was dips or growth, we're kind of hitting a return to what was almost a year or so ago.
Yeah, that's really what's happening. We are seeing a pretty big recovery, and throughout this presentation, you're going to see evidence of the same that supports that. A couple months ago, we did a study, and I presented it previously to the PDMI. And really, again, just studying these different facets of our industry, the larger direct-to-consumer space. We've got the branded, and of course, we've got the traditional advertisers that measure everything using different phone numbers, different web promotion codes, different SMS variants, et cetera. So let's look at what happened. I'm going to skip through some of this, and everyone should be able to see in the comments a Dropbox link where all of this data is available. It's going to be easier to see it offline anyway. One of the things that we do as a company is we monitor using ACR technology across today 130 networks, and we monitor the difference between the national ad breaks and something we call a DPI break. Many in the industry refer to it as a national local break, but these are ad opportunities, 2 minutes an hour on most networks. The inventory is available at 10 cents on the dollar, and you're not going to clear in the top 100 markets. More information on DPI ad breaks are available on our website, but all of this is factored into this study. So we looked at 3 periods: pre-quarantine, quarantine, and post-quarantine, across these 2 major sectors of the industry. Now, just to have some eyes on it, these are the top 50 web mobile advertisers that we studied based on 2019 spend prior to the COVID year, and we see some very recognizable companies here. Again, these are all Nielsen-based companies. They're using vanity call to action, right? And then we have our traditional direct-to-consumer advertisers who are measuring using what we call DR variations. Again, a list that everybody knows, and these are their 2019 expenditures, also available to you if you download the study. So here's what we saw. During the 3 periods surrounding the quarantine, the best performers that we saw: Noom, Deal Dash, Warby Parker, Carvana, GoodRx, and they're up respectably. But look what happens with the traditional direct-to-consumer advertisers. We're talking 3 digits. What a huge difference in execution. And the only real difference between these 2 sectors is that one has really better TV attribution, really can see what's going on, and the other is relying on Nielsen data, and that's a little bit more difficult. So basically, this next slide reemphasizes that. Now, the as seen on TV sector, or short form products, was an interesting subset. They were down about 26% in 2019, but during the quarantine period, some of these advertisers in that classification were up over 1,000%. Really took advantage of the remnant inventory opportunities. So we saw a lot of winners, obviously, that we're measuring, and one of the things that is important to understand is that this study allows the performance-based side of the industry to really pound its chest and say, look, you know, media was completely disrupted in 2020. There are the 2 different tales to be told here. The performance-based advertisers were able to see what was happening and react to it and take advantage of it, and the branded advertisers were simply not able to do so. Let me skip through this. Some more data, just kind of fun to look at. Pre-quarantine, the brand direct advertisers were down 5%. During the quarantine period itself, media weeks 11 through 19, down 34%. Now, let's look at the more traditional or accountable campaigns, up 37% pre-quarantine, up 76.6% during quarantine. That's the kind of swing we're talking about here. That's how amazing it is when you can see what's happening because you have better TV attribution with the way that the accountable campaigns operate. You can see it here on one slide, the contrast. This is pre-quarantine here. This is quarantine, again, down 34%, up 76. And even post-quarantine, when we did the study through Media Week 35, the branded guys were still down 47% and performance-based campaigns were still up 26%. So anyway, so that study is available to you as well.
And what I think is so interesting about that is in one of the panels that came through, we had two panels kind of focused on brand and performance. So Aprajita Jain from Google talked about the concept of brand formance, and I hosted a panel about the sliding scale between performance and brand. And performance is something where we've seen it in a lot of different avenues in quarantine. Performance and response is actually climbing. Consumers are responding to those advertisings and responding to really response and traditional place order now type of promotions and ads.
Well, we had obviously softer media rates, and we had higher HUT levels or households using television for sure. And the analysis, when you can measure what's happening down to the network day part creative level, is, hey, the climate's good. I'm not going to pull back because I can't read what's happening. Now, ratings data is good for a lot of different things, but it doesn't tell you whether consumers are responding, and it doesn't tell you whether consumers are buying. And these are critical pieces of information that performance-based advertisers can leverage. And it was the difference maker in the COVID year. Now, let's look at Q1 2020 versus Q1 21. This sort of sets the stage. What's starting to happen in this recovery? What will things look like going forward? So we're looking at the Vanity 800, again, more Nielsen-based advertisers who are up 20% year over year. Now that's a recovery, and you could see that these vanity campaigns here are a significant portion, second only to the web mobile branded campaigns, which are up 8%. So yeah, that's going to create some headwinds. It's going to suck up some inventory. We can see that lead generation is down 17%. Again, all of this additional media buying, this pent-up demand that's happening on the brand side is going to eat up inventory. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult for traditional direct-to-consumer advertisers. Product campaigns are still holding in there, up 8% year over year. And we're looking at a minus 6% for the 28.5-minute category. Let me bring up another slide here. So what I decided to do is use some of the master categories that DRMetrix monitors. And under each of these, we have numerous subcategories. But in the interest of time, we're just going to look at a very, very high level. And I've highlighted a few of these which are notable. And I don't think any of these are going to be surprising. So communications as a category up 57%. Now, what drove that? Diving into the data, Discovery Plus was the big story there. You know, Discovery has a lot of media available to them, especially during a quarantine pandemic year. Rather than, you know, discounting their inventory, you know, why not run their own campaigns? And to the tune of $196 million, they definitely have been doing that. Disney Plus went from $5 million to over $15 million in spend. So there's largely your cause of change there. Entertainment venues, tough year for entertainment venues. We did see some of the promotional programming spots that are in this category do a little bit more, like the PGA Tour promotional spots went from about 839K to 1.68. NASCAR jumped from 3.5, which is nothing, to about 600 plus. And then you get into traditional like Treasure Island in Las Vegas, went from 1.2 to 719. So it's a bit of a slowdown there. Music and video, small category, big pullback. In of itself, not a big enough category to drive, but public service is interesting. Interesting dynamic here. So Mike Bloomberg, who's in this category, spent 38 million. So that's a huge percentage of that. Obviously not going to be spending it, one wouldn't think, after the presidential elections. Also, we had a United States Census spending about 24 million. So, despite all of that, you're looking down 61%. Obviously, those aren't there anymore. So that's the driving factor there. Travel, vacation, hotel. This is interesting. Look at Trivago. Went from 26 million down to 2.5. Booking.com from 18.7 million to zilch. Hotels.com from 14.4 to 2.5. Disney, again, because I think they have some media assets there, went from about $500,000 to 20 million in spend, trying to fill up some of that void. But that's just a quick snapshot of what we're seeing at the category level. Let's jump over to direct-to-consumer classification here. There we go. So this is the first time we've released this information. This is going to come out in an updated 5-year industry study that we've been doing every year. I did put the latest version of that in the Dropbox for 2019, but we'll be producing it for 2020. But here's a sneak peek of what you'll see. The brand ER had, you can see the airings and you can see the spend, about 5.7 billion in 2019 compared to a 2020 spend, again, COVID year, of 5.7. So about a zero change there for the Vanity 800. Now the 5-year moving average on that is 13.25%. So, 13.25%. So yeah, obviously impacted. The web mobile, 15% year-over-year change. Normal is 26.11% over the last 5 years. This category is eating everyone's lunch. They just keep buying, they keep growing. They were slowed down a little bit during the COVID year, but they're coming back. And that's obviously something we all need to be aware of as things start to return to normal. Short form products, the big tail here for the TV to retail sector, up an amazing 36% over the course of the entire year. Obviously, we saw examples during the COVID quarantine period itself where media got very soft. There were some amazing stories there. Idea Village up 1,000% during that period, but over the entire year up 36%. The 5-year average is 0.10, so that is a huge difference. As to be expected when you have a media disruption situation like we did. Lead generation up 7%, normally about 5.14%. So again, accountable advertisers, a little bit more steam because of the dynamics and the fact that they can measure and see everything and react to it. Infomercials, still seeing headwinds in that category. We've seen a 5-year average decline, but it's been accelerating in more recent years. So this is not out of the normal, down 38% year over year. And yeah, kind of crazy. So if anyone has time to jump into our industry study, you can pull this down. You can see short form products over the last 5 years. You can see lead generation over the last 5 years, and you can compare and contrast against the data that I'm sharing with you that I just shared. So Chris, if there's any Q&A, let's segue to that.
That's a fantastic resource. Thank you so much for sharing that information and getting under the hood with that. Thomas, if we're fielding some questions, now's the time to do it because we're at about the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. We got a couple interesting ones here. According to the study, brand advertisers were down 34% during quarantine. Have they bounced back? Do you think brands will start to use more trackable, measurable media after this experience?
Okay, 2 questions. Yeah, they've definitely bounced back. That's what the data is showing. If our industry really leverages this experience and uses it as a tool to educate the more branded direct-to-consumer advertisers, I think it can make a difference. It's one of the reasons why we produced the study, and we hope that agencies and advertisers will embrace it and share it. It is a wonderful case study to look at. You had a perfect climate. The branded advertisers using the more antiquated Nielsen data, they had the blinders on. They couldn't see what was happening. So, they pull back, and it's the conservative thing to do. But if you can clearly see what's happening and you're measuring it week to week, your ROI, your media efficiency ratio as an accountable TV advertiser, you realize that, hey, you know what, we should not be pulling back. We should be going all in. And that's exactly what the story shows. Now, that's huge. I mean, if that can be shared with the more traditional direct-to-consumer advertisers, they may really see the wisdom of using accountable TV advertising techniques. And I can't think of a better, more recent example than the COVID period and then the research around it.
Well, what's interesting about that, Joseph, is the contrast, right? And I think that your analogy of blinders is terrific, because in the end of the day, businesses are like people. They're moving ahead with some degrees of uncertainty and or risk and or confidence, right? So if you can clearly see the path ahead of you and see that each step you take is actually moving you to where you want to go, versus someone walking in a forest with a blindfold on and not exactly sure, they're going to be hesitant. They're not going to move forward.
Well, I think a lot of us on the performance-based side of the direct-to-consumer industry, we know the power of the model, convincing new web-based companies coming into television that they need to think outside of the box, that they need to look at more traditional forms of TV attribution. Now, in our 5x5 industry study, there's a whole section on attribution specific to these .com companies, and I'd encourage everybody to read it, because there is a high-tech ad tech form of TV attribution that's been peddled out in the marketplace, and it doesn't pass muster. But the evidence of that is in the study, and if we can get that message out together with what happened during the quarantine period, I think that agencies in particular can use this data to educate some of these direct-to-consumer branded advertisers and get them to really adopt performance-based television techniques. Our industry then, the accountable side of it, would see growth. That's what we want to see.
Interesting. I would think also too, that's just real quick, that's especially germane to new e-commerce companies coming into the fold, especially if they've been investing dollars and they haven't experienced the power of television yet. That's great data for them to understand.
Yeah, they come into television, they think, oh, I can't measure anything like I can online. Not true. For how many decades have we been doing it in accountable television? So they just need to be educated, and everyone's got to do their job. And here's the data from us to the industry, helping everybody to do that.
Great. Another question came through. Obviously, travel got hammered during the past year. Your numbers here in Q1 show that that's still not recovered. When do you expect to see the big bounce back in this space that we're all kind of expecting, and how big do you think it's going to be? Is it going to affect the entirety of the market?
I don't have a crystal ball, but my personal opinion, and that's all it is that we're getting some really nice progress made on the vaccine front. When everyone's vaccinated and everyone starts to travel again, which is not too far into the near future, there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand. Obviously, there's been a lot of stimulus money. People are going to want to take vacations. Those advertisers are going to come back to television, and there's going to be pent-up demand because they held back and they didn't spend their war chest. Now, when demand is super high, I think you're going to see them come back in spades, and there'll be a little bit of an overcorrection, and then things will stabilize again. But just as wonderful as it was for accountable campaigns, because we're the only ones that could see what was going on, and we were fully taking advantage of the COVID situation, I think we're going to have to take a little bit of a throttle back and let these more branded advertisers come in and overcorrect, and then things will return to normal. But you have your good season, not so good season, and then back to normality. We'll probably see something like that happen.
Great. Chris, I'm going to let you have one shot for a question of your own if you want it. If not, we can call it.
I think the big question that I would have, Joseph, is if I'm a new e-commerce company and I've got some Series A fundings, and I've got some funding, and I've got some cash to spend, and I've got a great product. What would be one of your main pieces of advice to them and or the agencies that they work with?
Well, the thought that I can use some sort of high-tech TV attribution technology that will allow me to do accurate TV attribution and use a single URL is the biggest fallacy out there. Our industry study talks about that and explains why, so I won't go into it. But reading the study, and if the right advertiser is able to be exposed to the study, they might think twice. Clearly, they're going to be a lot more successful if they work with a accountable television agency. They come up with some sort of a way to solve the measurement problem, promotion code, text messaging. There's all kinds of different tools that can be used where you don't have to rely upon a single doorway for all the consumers to come through. With the visibility that you gain, your campaign is going to be multiple times more successful. And one of the truths about the accountable television space is that accountable agencies are able to buy inventory for a fraction of what the branded agencies pay. We know that. That's been proven. And that's not something that you want to go out there and have that be your initial selling point. But what a pleasant surprise for a .com company to know that, hey, if I work with a performance-based agency, if I use these techniques and I come into the industry this way, I'm going to be able to participate on the remnant side, and I'm going to be able to get this inventory for a fraction of what my branded peers are paying. You put all that together, it's a difference between, lackluster success and huge success. Big difference maker. You just got to get that information to the right people.
Right. So that's the thing, is getting that information out there, leveraging the DRMetrix studies, understanding what you can deliver in terms of the reporting side of it. That's wonderful advice, especially for those e-commerce folks trying to take advantage of a post-COVID resurgence in consumer buying. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, Joseph. That was wonderful. Thomas,
Thanks,
are we
Chris.
good?
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
everyone.
both. Really a wonderful presentation from Joseph. Again, drmetrix.com. We did drop a Dropbox link into the chat function earlier. So while I'm wrapping this up, you can go and grab it there if you want to see more of what Joseph shared. Again, thank you both. Your next opportunity as an attendee to attend a live online Take 20 episode is in 2 weeks, Wednesday, April 14th, for the second episode of this Data and Industry Metrics series, that one featuring Rich Radzik of Kantar Media. Please visit the pdmi.com/take-20 to check out the upcoming schedule and register today. Until then, thanks again for checking out this episode. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your work week. Stay safe and stay well. Bye-bye.
Stay safe, healthy, everyone. Take care.